This video is brought to you by the Ultimate Nature Creature Add-on Bundle for Blender, SpyderFy plus Nisarga Lite, available for download on blendermarket.com. What's up guys, it's Brad from LightArchitect. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the visuals for the Last of Us TV show trailer that they have recently released. As both a cinematographer and visual effects generalist myself, I'm going to be commenting on both of these aspects of the show and sort of sharing how I think they did it or how I would approach it myself. Now granted guys, I'm not DNEG, and also as a cinematographer, I've never shot a show of this caliber. Most of the time I'm working on indie features under $1 million. The cinematographers Eben Bolter, Ksenia Sereda, and Nadim Carlson are really doing great work on this show. However, the visual concepts we apply on lower budgets can often apply to higher budgets as well, so hopefully you'll find this commentary useful. Anyways guys, without further ado, let's break down the visuals for this trailer. Alright guys, right off the bat, we have a pretty awesome shot here. So I'll go ahead and break this down on what I think they've done to create this. Alright guys, so obviously they didn't build an entire city for this shot, but I do believe they created a partial set for the actors to at least interact with some of the objects that are in this shot. So if I were to guess, I'd say that all of this here, all the way to the cars on either side of our characters, is a partial set, meaning they've actually built this in the real world. They probably shot this on a street, possibly the exact street that this shot is based off of, and then they just recreated the geometry of the background buildings as well so that they could overlay different grunge and destruction on the actual environment. So what we have is a partial set. All this stuff is probably real, so the actors can actually interact with it, and they don't want to comp in dirt where the actors are walking. So I think all that is real, and then probably all this stuff on the side here, I would guess this stuff is added in post, meaning they've just added those nature assets there. And probably the same thing on this side. And then these background buildings that have circled with the destruction on them, they could either be entirely CG, or this could be something where they actually shot with the buildings there and then they've dirtied them up in post-production, again by recreating that geometry of the shot and then adding various nature and destruction over that element. And this guy in the back, probably totally CG if I were to guess. And then I'm also basing this on the Last of Us Twitter page here. They've posted this shot, and then a very low resolution behind the scenes photo here. So you can actually see the red truck here that they're walking by. This is definitely real. And then you can also see to the right of the red truck, there's not any nature there like in the final shot, which again kind of confirms that all of this stuff over here is an extension. All right, so let's continue here. All right, so not a lot to go off of here with just this shot, but cinematography wise, looks like they're pushing soft sources through the window, pretty neutral light, maybe a little bit cooler, and then they're probably just filling in his face just so there's a little bit of detail. So not a lot to go off here, but I think that's probably what they're doing, lighting from the outside of the building. And then if their shadows are crushing on the characters' faces, they're probably bringing in some bounce or something subtle to fill in that face so that we can actually get the actor's performance here. Not a lot to go off of here either. This is like one of the, I guess you call it a zombie in the show. I think this is probably like a prosthetic. I don't think there's any CG going on here. I think it's just a prosthetic guy in a suit. All right, so this is an interesting shot here. I sort of like when in movies or shows, they motivate from fire or street light rather than a moonlight source, because everyone thinks of moonlight when you shoot at night. So it's kind of more fun to do something like this. But this is an interesting shot, and it's a little soft on our character's face here, but just a quick breakdown here. I think probably this fire here is real fire. It's really impossible to know, but in seeing what behind the scenes I could of this show, I know they had special effects fire on set. So I think this is probably real fire, and then probably how I would do this so that we can actually light up this building as if it's being lit by this fire is they probably have some kind of other unit just off camera left here, or it could be something rigged overhead even so the camera has a little more ease of movement so you don't have to avoid the source as much. But I think that's probably what they're doing. They're taking another source off camera that's the same color temperature as fire, and then they're just blasting this house here to make sure that it's actually lit up as if it's being lit by this fire. And then not a lot of light on our characters' faces here, and again it's a close-up, so this could be lit in a variety of ways, but probably they're filling in his face with a similar color temperature as the fire that's supposed to be lighting the scene. Something really soft on our characters' faces here. I know they also did a lot of top lighting in this show. This could be one of those instances where they've rigged something overhead and top lit the environment for that extra bit of fill, and then they're probably filling in with something else for the faces, I would think. Not a lot to go off of there, but I would think definitely they're lighting up this background with another unit as if they're motivating from the fire. All right, so we got some car stuff. This could be done on like an LED wall. It could be a green screen. It could be done on like a process trailer. So they're shooting actually on location. My guess would be this is done on like an LED wall. So they get their lighting on the faces more physically accurate, but they don't actually have to go to any location. Much easier to shoot. Same thing here. All right, so this is an interesting shot to break down. Of course, this could be 100% CG, but I'm thinking this is at least partially live action. So I think probably we have the bridge here as a real element, and then they've recreated the geometry of the bridge and instanced a whole bunch of nature on top of it, comping in like these vines and everything. And I'm thinking probably the shoreline is real. So everything over here, that's a live action plate. And then this stuff could be added or at least dirtied up a bit in post. And then probably same thing on this side. I think this is probably live action. And then they've added or dirtied up these buildings on the shoreline here to make them look more derelict. I mean, this could honestly, this part could be totally CG just because, you know, perhaps in this location where they took the shot, it was, you know, more developed than they wanted it. So it's kind of a toss up there. I'm going to guess that's probably CG along with this over here. Now, of course, these boats in the water are CG. I think the real question is here is if the water is fake. So I'm going to say that the water is CG as well. So I'm going to say probably everything here. I'm thinking everything, all the water is computer generated, as well as the boats on the water that they've, you know, comped into the shot here. They could have added these boats and comped them in. However, why I'm thinking that the water is CG as well is because I think to composite these fishing boats assets into the water effectively, you're gonna have to create some sort of proxy water anyway. So might as well just create this whole thing with some kind of ocean modifier or something. So probably if I were to do this, I'd probably just go full CG for the water. Since the water's not moving, you could use like an ocean modifier in Blender or something. And then you can have some, you know, depending on how you design your materials, when you actually place these boat assets into the scene, the material from the water can actually create some shadows on the actual asset itself, so you can comp it in a bit better. And even though we don't have a visual effects breakdown for this specific show, I have seen this visual effects breakdown for Death on the Nile, which is also by DNEG, the same company who did the visual effects for Last of Us. So you can see here, this is one of their shots in that, and now you can see we got our partial set, which of course they're shooting everything on with the characters and everything. And then they've just comped in the whole environment. Not one of my favorite breakdowns, but this water looks pretty close to this guy right here. So that's how I think they did that. We have a mixed live action and CG shoreline, a dirtied up live action bridge with these nature assets instanced on it. And then I think all the visuals where the water is are totally CG and comped in. So anyways, let's continue here. All right, I think we got full live action there, more full live action. This guy, I'm not sure, but I think these mountains could be pretty easily comped in. Probably just some 2D work on this, but this kind of digital set extension is pretty easy to do. Again, we're lighting from the windows mostly, I think, here. Then the flashlight's pretty hot, and then they got some fill going on the inside. There's not a lot to go off here, but pretty simple top light going on. Yeah, so it's pretty simple top light going on here, maybe some fill just directly above our Bella here. This is a nice shot. Pretty much just blasting some sodium vapor light through the windows here to light up these curtains, which gives some nice layers of light and dark. Probably on the inside, they might be adding a little fill of either a cooler temperature, or it looks a little green. I don't know if that's the wallpaper or if they're intentionally making it green like that, but a little bit of fill on the inside so it's not totally dark probably. And this background could either be real background or it could be comped in, meaning the background past the grunge on the windows here. Nothing too crazy here, but cool shot. All right, so that's a pretty cool shot. I'm gonna pause it here real quick, give this a quick breakdown. If you watch my last video on partial sets, you probably have some idea of how they did this. What I'm pretty sure they did here is they just created a partial set. So again, anything the actors interact with, all this stuff, just draw a little circle here. Anything inside that is a real set, maybe this top part here too. So essentially just the roof that they're sitting on, and then this board that they're walking across is a partial set, meaning they've actually built that. Then obviously they're not gonna have our actors and actresses walk across this dangerous area. So I'm assuming that there's a floor right below her feet here. Then we have green screen all behind here. Green or blue screen, one or the other. Maybe a little bit further back so there's not as much spill on our actors. Whenever you do green or blue screen work, you want to try to have that screen a little further back so that there's not, you know, green bounce or blue bounce going back on our actors. So I'm assuming all this is green screen, or at least, you know, where the actors need to be occluded. So then you can easily pull out a key of our characters here as they walk across the bridge. And then pretty much everything else is full CG. So all this stuff rendered and comped in. They've really done a good job matching the lighting here, you know, conveniently placing our characters in the shadow. But you can see they're matching the CG assets like up here. You can see the sun is coming off from the left of camera, so it's creating those shadows, which conveniently places our character in shadow, so it's much softer on them. But then also it's creating those nice layers of light and dark, so you can see like layer of light, then we have more layers of light here, but then right here we have dark. So a nice way of layering different things. Everything is pretty much CG except for the partial set in this case, I think. And then they're instancing tons of nature, like these vines in the foreground here, to make everything look more derelict. So pretty cool, nice shot. But pretty sure other than the rooftop and the board here, it's pretty much done on a blue or green screen. All right, so pretty quick cuts here. I'm gonna let it play for a second. This could be totally comped in mountains or not. Flare looks kind of real, but you never really know these days. Looks good though. Nothing too crazy here. All right, this is a pretty cool one. Let's break this down. So I really like this shot, but it's actually, I think it's pretty simple here. You got your characters holding the main sources in the scene. So you got their flashlights and they're just, you know, blasting them this way to act as the main source in the scene. You've also got a little bit of dust in this environment, which is lit up by the flashlights. That's going to help you with your fill in the scene so you don't lose too much of the detail in your shadows. There's not a lot of haze here, so I'm thinking that there's probably at least one more source in the scene, probably a little fill light going on. They could either fill directly from camera, or I think they could put something off this way, just closer to the camera, not like in the corner, but above the staircase, and then they could flag off the staircase so that the light doesn't hit the top of the stairwell, so the characters' flashlights can reveal what's up there. But then we actually have a source going this way back on our characters, so we can have some more fill on our characters' faces. That's probably where I would put the fill. Again, not by the staircase, but kind of a little bit closer to camera so that it's filling in all the shadows here. And then you can kind of flag it off anywhere it's really hot. So really soft fill light, I'm assuming. It could be something bounced or something with a heavy diffusion on it. You can tell they really wanted the flashlights to be the main source in the scene. So it could be just the flashlights, but I'm thinking they have some fill in there, and then they've just crunched down the shadows a bit more in post if they had to. So probably some kind of softbox to fill close to camera, off a little bit to the left here. But it's so sourceless, guys, it's hard to tell where that one is. But really cool shot. I love the beams of light. You know, sometimes keeping it simple is actually even better. So day interior stuff, not too crazy. Love that. I think here we got some Compton Mountains again. Some flares. So this is an interesting shot here. Again, what I'm thinking here, guys, we got a partial set. We have these railings are real. Obviously our character's real. Railing is real. I don't know if the glass is real. Could have comped in the glass because it might be easier to do that than comp in the background. But I think this is a pretty simple partial set here, guys. I've only seen the first 2 episodes because the rest aren't out yet, but yeah, they didn't build a whole mall, I don't think, guys. So, but to me, this probably seems like a partial set shot. Maybe they built like up to there, you know? So all this stuff is real, and then everything else is an extension. But if I'm gonna take a guess, I'm gonna say we have a blue screen over here, or green screen. And then obviously there's a lighting gag when these lights turn on. So if this area is CG, like I'm suggesting, then the director, cinematographer, visual effects supervisor, they all gotta be on the same page regarding, you know, what color are the lights in the mall when they turn on. So whenever they do turn on, the cinematographer's gotta have similar sources lighting up our character's face. So assuming I'm correct about the background, we have pretty much 2 lighting setups here. We have before, which based on our characters, you can see the kind of the specularity in our character's hair here. So what's going on here is they have some kind of top light just above our character here. It's pretty soft since they want it a little bit sourceless, but it's still providing that nice edge on our character. So that's kind of coming down right on top of our character, top lighting this whole area. Big softbox, blasting light down. Maybe a little fill by camera, but looks pretty shadowy. But as soon as these various light sources come on, then you got to have some light sources off camera that turn on as well. So probably using like some sky panels or some other RGB type of light. So assuming you have some kind of pink store windows light up here, you want to try to motivate that in the live action shot as well. So you have some kind of light source, either, you know, it could be directly in the shot. You don't want to flare the lens, obviously, but you just want to hit her with like a nice edge. You can even put the source off camera up here somewhere and just try to maintain that edge so that when those store lights come on in the CG environment, you have similar lighting on the edge of our character here, which is, you know, sort of like this. So you can sort of see the pink on our character. Take a look one more time. Based on this edge on her neck here, I'm thinking there's a source down here somewhere, giving her that nice edge, you know, when that light comes on. So anyways, cool shot. Some day exterior. This is an interesting one as well. I'm thinking probably didn't burn a house down, but again, what you can do, like I mentioned in the first shot we talked about, it's hard to be for sure, but I'm thinking all of this is CG and it's not real fire or anything. Comp the house in with fire elements on it, and then to get the ground lit up here and any live action light interaction, they've got like a whole bunch of lights here. So, you know, maybe they're using like maxi brutes or something. So each one of these dots I'm drawing is like a 1,000-watt light, okay? And then you can have them like dim on and off at different times to create that flickering effect. So they could just like stack these on top of each other with different stands. So they have a bunch of light sources, and then each one of these is panable. I'm not going to draw every one of these, but this is how some movies do it. They just get something that would motivate this firelight and they just stack them all up. You find a way to make them flicker. You can use sky panels too. I don't know why I'm drawing this old school maxi brute stuff, but then now you have them emit orange light. Then after you add that practical element, then you can comp in all the fire. So anyways, I think that's how they did it in 1917. So check it out. Let's see here. 1917 fire shot. All right, check it out, guys. Here's what I'm talking about. Okay, so they didn't use maxi brutes, but it's kind of similar. So you can see they've hazed up the environment. They're adding these light sources wherever the flames would be. And then of course, you know, in post-production, they comp in the fire in the building and everything. So anyways, that's how I think they did it. I don't know if that's actually the correct way, just purely conjecture. Until we find some more BTS photos. Oh wait, actually, hold on, check this out, guys. So look, we do have maxi brutes. Probably in my subconscious mind, I just started talking about maxi brutes. So yeah, motivating fire with these guys, creating firelight. They're probably doing some flickering or something. So yeah, I was right about that. Cool. So we got a few really cool shots here. I want to talk a little bit about this lightning effect, but it's too quick of a shot to really break down. So I'm going to continue here. This is probably a good shot to break down. We got a mixture of visual effects in addition to a pretty big live action element. So let's go ahead and break this one down. I think this live action shot setup is pretty similar to this guy we just talked about. So again, we have like a bunch of huge light sources blasting from the direction of this fire. So I'm just going to draw one here, guys, but I'm pretty sure all this stuff is real. I don't think they've recreated this whole thing in CG. I think it's all real. You know, probably this truck foreground is real and everything. And our extras here, I think are real as well. I don't think they're not doing like World War Z CG zombies in this specific shot. I'm sure they use a lot of CG zombies in this series, but I don't think they're doing that here. I think these are extras. And I think what they're doing, they have huge maxi brutes, or I don't know why I keep calling them maxi brutes, guys, but they got huge lights, and when that fire is cued, they're blasting light. They're dimming up really fast and creating that environmental interaction. And then, of course, this is some kind of explosion simulation. Probably not done in Mantaflow, but probably done in like Houdini or something. But you can create some pretty awesome sims in Blender as well. So they've comped in this sim, added a ton of glow and glare and stuff. And then they also, probably before this huge light source dims up to cue the explosion, they have another lighting set up to just light the street as is. So whenever you have these lighting gags like lightning or an explosion or something, a gunshot, pretty much you want to have two lighting setups. You want to have your base lighting, which could be like moonlight or street light. I'm talking about night specifically here, guys. So you have that as like your base. So in this case, we don't really see a before of what this looks like before we have this explosion. But I did find this BTS photo, which I will just increase in brightness a bit here for you guys. All right, so check this out. It looks like the same street, guys. So pretty much what they're doing in this case, it looks like in addition to probably some sources on the ground, fill sources and things like that, bounces, they have these cranes up here. They have several of them. There's one more down here, it looks like. And then they're rigging these, looks like Sky Panel S360s, I think is what they're called. So pretty much they're just top lighting the street. So in this case, I think for the show, the power is still on. You can see this street light is on. So probably this is like motivating some orange light to imitate sodium vapor or fire, one or the other. So they're top lighting their environments essentially, which is pretty nice because you can shoot more like 360 degrees. It allows for a little bit more versatility in your camera movement. So you're not like too front lit, for example. cool. So yeah, it looks like to me, guys, they're top lighting their environments with these sky panels. I would think they'd want something more powerful than that, but I guess not. I guess it's like enough of an ambience to just kind of fill in those streets and provide shape. You know, that's creating that base layer, and then when that explosion goes off, then they're blasting some maxi brutes or something else, dimming up really quickly to create that environmental interaction in addition to the base layer of this top light. So pretty cool shot here. Let's continue. All right, so this is a good lightning shot to break down. Let's do it. All right, again, guys, for these lighting gags, you pretty much have two lighting setups. You have the base level lighting, and then you have the additional lighting gag. So this is that base level lighting. You can see it's pretty minimal, guys. You can see they've lit a little bit of this background with some kind of unit. I can barely see it, honestly. Let's just increase the brightness a little bit. I'm sure this is intentional. So you can see they barely lit this background with some kind of hard source, it looks like, motivated by fire, I'm assuming. And then they have some sort of source coming in off of camera right. So they got probably those big maxi brutes that you saw earlier hitting our character here to motivate that firelight. Could be the same source on the background, but probably I would guess something different. So they have a little more control. There's really no separation on the back of his head. So no backlight or anything. Like some people would say, you know, where's the edge light? But I think it's great because now whenever that lightning hits here, you're revealing the rest of the environment. So psychologically, I think this is a really good way to tell a story. You know, you're revealing things through the lighting, which is quite interesting. So for this second shot, we're just adding that second lighting gag source. So it looks like they got some sort of source either off the camera right above these trees over here, or it could be, you know, even up here. I'm seeing a little flaring possibly. So it could be two sources, it could be just one. But the reason I'm saying it's further back is because you can see the rain droplets here much better, and rain comes out much better when you're in backlight. So that's a pretty fair tell. I think that source is somewhere up here, maybe a little bit further up, so there's a little bit more fall off. And then yeah, they're just cueing that lightning to strike on at a certain time. And they have different lights that are specially designed for lightning and things like this. For example, they have like a luminous 25K lightning strike, which is super powerful, could definitely do something like this. And they also, you know, you have your sky panels and things like this that have presets for different effects built in. I'm not sure if sky panel would be enough to do this, but maybe. It's hard to say. I have to look at their lighting specifications, but definitely, I mean, it could be a sky panel. It just seems to be lighting up a big portion of the environment. It could be a lot of different things, but anyways, they got some sort of lighting gag source, and then whenever they want the lighting to occur, they initiate it, and it creates this effect. I think this guy is a pretty hard source. You see the hard shadows, but you know, they're so far away, it's hard to tell. But yeah, I love the shot. All right, pretty cool. And it looks like we got like a full CG monster here at the end. Comped in. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this commentary. I hope you got something out of this video. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Let us know what you'd like to see next on the channel, and I'll see you next time.